When Michael Mellis says
100%.
that police will commit, there's no crime so egregious a police officer would not commit it up into including the execution of children. What people think he's saying is that cops are smirking, being like, yes, I will go. What he's saying is that a cop will be told, don't let these cars leave. And they go, sure thing, boss. And then they're all roasting alive. And he's like, oh, that's what's happening.
That's what Jordan Peterson talks about with the Nazi officers.
Yeah. And what people are saying now about what's happening in New York and the immigration crisis, they bring in non-citizens. They then say, you can be police officers. Illinois is proposing this. They then say, how would you like to be a citizen? All you got to do is join the military, join the National Guard. Now you have loyal people with no loyalty to the Constitution or the country being promised personal gain to subjugate anyone who would stand against them.
We already have that. I mean, you can already earn citizenship if you're an immigrant.
Right, but that's not my point.
Yeah,
my point is,
if you do it en masse, we have a really big problem.
I understand that. My point is not that we allow people to become citizens through the military. That I get. My point is, if an American citizen is questioned, will you take up arms against your neighbor? They'll say no outright. No one believes that police would do these things because the assumption is the police officers are consciously deciding to harm a child. The real issue is that the police will follow orders without understanding what the full ramifications are and just do it. But there still is a problem of American versus American. But you bring in non-Americans, empower them with law enforcement capabilities and weapons, and they'll say, I literally don't care about you at all. I'm getting mine.
And there's all of these young men, these young military-age men that we see crossing the border, just wandering on in, not caring at all.
The Biden administration will maintain that it's actually families and these poor moms.
Even though they're not. And then also what happens is these young men, in a lot of cases, when you see them with families, these are like cartel manufactured families.
Yeah, they're not related.
You know, they're not actually related. They're not actually involved with one another. Yeah, I think this is really scary. The Roosevelt Hotel also has been taken over by the city and is used to house migrants exclusively. And what's really interesting about that is the Roosevelt Hotel is owned by a Pakistani company. Jacqueline Toberoff for Human Events uncovered this for us. It's owned by a Pakistani company that New York City is paying for the privilege of housing migrants in it. And I'm nervous about a lot of hotels, like going to stay in a hotel in New York. Who are you going to end up being with? A bunch of people who are living there, like cooking on hot pots in the rooms and like,
you won't be able
what's
to stay
going
in those
on?
hotels. The entire we in Britain we've been dealing with this for a couple of years now.
You guys have a barge, right? Didn't you guys set up a barge?
No, we've done jack shit.
No, there was a barge. Rishi
There were
Sunak put up a
talks of a
barge.
barge.
Oh,
Right.
it just didn't happen.
Yeah, nothing happens.
I see.
So in Britain, we're paying £3 billion a year to house them in hotels. And there's a local migrant hotel near our offices, near the Lotus Seaters offices. And we walk past there every day to go and get our lunch. And it's full of Africans who are just sitting around smoking and drinking with a very suspicious collection of bikes that are tied up. These bikes are all quite old and rusty looking. Some of them have got flat tires. These guys have been in the country 6 months. How did you get such a rusty bike in 6 months?
You don't think they brought their antique bike collection with them?
Weirdly, I don't. But this is costing us money. And if you go on the website for this particular hotel, it's just booked in perpetuity, the whole thing. Right, so the government will just book out the entire hotel in perpetuity. So you actually don't have to worry about having to share a room with them or anything. You're in no danger of that because you're just paying for their holiday.
How lovely.
In perpetuity.
How lovely. So are we going to we're taking our cues from Britain on this one too?
Unfortunately, yeah.
Really quite a shame.
It's really, really annoying. And for some reason, our government won't do anything about it. But again, okay, so coming back to the previous point, what's the right plan? How are you retaking New York?
Aren't we going to build a wall?
Well, that's the
Around New York.
No, but this is the thing. It comes back to the whole thing. You can't be asking to be left alone. They won't leave you alone. What's the plan to take New York?
The plan, well, to take New York, I don't know of an immediate plan, but the best thing I'm aware of right now is to do everything we can to get the communist influence out, the globalist communist influence out of schools right now.
Okay.
Get out. Good.
But like New York,
that isn't a soon thing. That's
No.
decades.
Decades. New York used to have, like California as well, used to be a Republican place. Like they sat there with their
we
long
had George
march.
Pataki.
They had a plan and they had the money, they had the resources, and they had got the activists, they had the will to drive out their opponents, and they've done it. And they will. That will never be Republican again. Right? It will always be
and
this
Texas
kind of
is gonna fall.
Yeah, Texas is purple state, man, and this creeping advance has always been the plan, and they're successful. So what's the right plan to roll it back? How are you taking their castles?
Have you played?
And no one's got a plan.
No.
Man.